Hey guys, it's Kid Bombing here. Thank you ever so much to come back to brand new video. And some of you are quite new to my channel, and my name's Kid Bombing, and some of you already know me on the previous video, so welcome back to my channel by the way. So on this video I'll be doing another read aloud, reading the classic Disney stories. I'm about to show you I have got a Lion King. You know what? I really love The Lion King. This is one of the original 1994 animated classic. So am I. I love this film so much since I was a child. Okay. Shall we start? We're going to read The Lion King. Since I have finished reading Aladdin and Cinderella, Peter Pan and The Jungle Book. I'm glad you enjoyed it so far. I really appreciate you guys for such a wonderful support. Okay, let's begin reading. Okay, happy listening. The animals came from afar and near across the dusty African plain. They came on paddling paws and pounding hooves and flapping wings. Each beast, from the tiniest to the largest elephant, made its way to Pride Rock, for that was the home of the Lion King, and this was a special day in the Pride Lands. Today, Simba, the firstborn cub of King Mufasa and Queen Sarabi, would join the great circle of life. The animals took their places and bowed to King Mufasa. Then Rafiki, a wise baboon, stood at the edge of Pride Rock and held up the little cub for all to see. A great cry rose for all the animals. The elephants trembled, the zebras whinnied, and the birds sang for the joy at the sight of Simba, the future Lion King. But one animal did not join in the joyous ceremony. Scar, the king's jealous brother, stayed in his den. Later, Scar just laughed when the king's advisor, Sasu the Hornbill, criticized him. Then the evil lion popped the bird into his mouth. Scar would have eaten Sasu if Mufasa didn't come along just in time. Sasu wiped his feathers off and scolded. As the king's brother usually have been first in line at Simba's ceremony. Scar's green eyes gleamed. I was first in line until the little hairboy was born. That hairboy is my son, and your future king. Mufasa growled. Scar slinked away. Don't turn your back on me, Mufasa warned. Scar looked back over his shoulder. His eyes narrowed. Perhaps you shouldn't turn back on me. Simba grew quickly. One morning, Mufasa took his son to the top of Pride Rock and told him the circle of life never stopped turning. One day, the sun was set on my time as ruler and wise with you as king. Then everything the light touches will be yours. What about that shadowy place? Simba asked. Mufasa declared, you must never go there. Suddenly, Sasu swooped down and squeaked, hyenas in her playgrounds. Mufasa frowned. Sasu, take Simba home. Oh, Dad, can I come? Simba whimpered. Mufasa took his mighty mane. Fighting savage hyenas was no job for the cub. Later, Simba asked his uncle Scar about the shadowy place. An evil plan formed in Scar's mind. Only a bravest lions go to the elephant's graveyard, Scar told him. He knew a foolish cub would go there just to prove his bravery. Scar was right. Simba could not wait to go to the graveyard with his best friend, Nala. But how could they go with Zazu watching every move they made? We have got to ditch the doodle, Simba whispered. Nala giggled and agreed. Soon the two friends found a way to escape their feathered babysitter. Before the long lions had reached the dark, mysterious place beyond the borders of Pride Lands, giant bones poked out of the ground. It's kind of scary, Nala whispered. Let's check it out, Simba said. I laugh in the face of danger. Ha ha ha! Hee 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 hee! Cackled three mean hyenas, Shansi, Bansi, and Ed. Look, boys, a kin fit for the meal, Shansi snickered. The cubs ran but soon found themselves cornered. Simba stepped bravely in the front of Nala and tried to roar. Hyenas laughed and jeered. Simba opened his mouth to try again. This time, the elephant bones rattled with a mysterious thunderous roar. The hyenas were confused, and so was Simba, until Mufasa sprang into view. The mighty lion chased away the hyenas. Zazu had seen cubs in trouble and flown for help. Mufasa told Zazu to take Nala home. Then he scolded Simba for disobeying him. Oh, Dad, I was trying to be brave like you, Simba explained. Professor shied. Being brave doesn't mean go looking for trouble, Simba. A good king is wise as well as brave. Simba suddenly felt very small. We'll always be together, right, Dad? Professor looked up at the starry sky and said, the great kings of the past looked down on us from the stars. So, wherever you feel alone, just remember that those kings will always be there to guide you, and so will I. Later, Scar met with hungry hyenas. I practically gave those cubs to you, he complained. They were exactly alone. Chauncey whimmed, but Scar had another plan that will allow him to become king. Stick with me. Oh, you will never go hungry again, he promised. Hyenas danced and cheered. The next morning, Scar took Simba to the bottom of a rocky canyon. Now wait here, he ordered. Your father has a great surprise for you. Will I like a surprise? Simba asked. Scar smiled slowly. It's to die for, he said as he walked away. Then he gave a signal to the hyenas waiting on the canyon ridge. Hyenas knew what to do. They chased a huge herd of wildebeest down the canyon. Simba felt the earth shake. He heard a clattering thousands of hooves. Then he saw a wildebeest heading straight for him. Simba managed to climb a dead tree and cling and sling to the branch. "Help!" he shouted. Help is what's on his way, for Simba had found his brother. "Professor, Simba's trapped in the stampede," Scar cried. Just as Scar had planned, Professor rushed to his Simba's rescue. He lifted his son to safety, but then fell under the rushing tides of hooves. "Dad!" Simba shouted. He couldn't see anything through the huge dust cloud. Mufasa tried to pull himself up through the steep rocks from above. Scar watched his brother struggle. "Help me, brother, help me," Mufasa pleaded. Scar reached for Mufasa's paws. He pulled his brother close and whispered, "Long live the king." Then Scar let go and watched Mufasa tumble down the steep slope. When the stampede was over, Simba found his father lying lifeless in the dust. "No," Simba wailed. Scar came to the sobbing cub's side. "What have you done?" he accused. "There were wildebeest everywhere. He tried to save me. It was an accident," Simba said in a rush. "I didn't mean to." "Of course not, but if it weren't for you, he'd still be alive." "What's your mother think?" Scar demanded. Simba looked stricken. "What should I do?" "Run away," Scar advised. "Run away and never come back." Scar watched Simba run, then he sent hyenas after him. Hyenas chased Simba to the borders of Pride Lands. Then the cub dived into the thicket of thorns at the edge of Great Desert. Hyenas looked at the sharp thorns, then at the desert. "The cub won't last a day out there," Shansi declared. Simba ran until he could run no more. The thirsty cub collapsed on the sand. Vultures circled him hungrily, but Timon the meerkat and his fat friend Pumbaa the warhog chased away the vultures. Simba woke up in their jungle home. "Where are you from?" Timon asked. Simba shuddered. "It doesn't matter, I can't go back." "What do you do, kid?" Pumbaa wondered. "Something terrible," Simba replied. Timon shrugged. "Who cares? You've got to put the past behind you." "Hakuna Matata." "What?" Simba asked. "Hakuna Matata," Timon repeated. "It means no worries. That's a motto we live by. And here's what we live on." Timon showed Simba a wriggly insect. Simba watched Pumbaa eat a grub, slimy but satisfying. The warhog said with a burp. Simba frowned, but he ate a big grub. Then the cub smiled and said, "Hakuna Matata." In the months that followed, Simba ate many grubs and grew into a full-sized lion. Most of the time, he was happy with his friends Timon and Pumbaa. Yet he missed his mother and often thought of his father. One night, as they gazed at the stars, Simba remembered what his father had told him. He wondered if the great kings of the past really were looking down from the stars. Simba felt very alone. Next day, Simba heard Timon scream. The young lion raced to the rescue. The hungry lioness was about to pounce on Pumbaa, who was stuck under a log. Timon bravely was trying to protect him. Simba gave a mighty roar and leaped at the lioness. But just as they began to fight, Simba recognized his old friend. Nala, he gasped in disbelief. The lioness looked deep into his eyes of a handsome young lion and whispered, "Simba, Sky told us you were dead." Nala told Simba how terrible things were now that King Sky and his hyenas ruled. For Brightlands there was no food or water, and many animals had fled. But you can come back and become king. Then everything will be right again, Nala said. "I'm no king," Simba asked angrily. But that night, Rafiki the baboon came to Simba and promised to bring him to his father. When Simba looked at the stars and heard a familiar voice, Simba, his father asked, "Have you forgotten me?" Simba gasped, "No, how could I?" "You have forgotten who you are, and so you have forgotten me." A ghostly voice continued, "Look inside yourself, Simba. You are more than what you have become. You must take your place in the circle of life." Simba knew his father was right. His friends returned with him to the Pride Lands. Back at the Pride Rock, Scar was angry with Sarabi for not finding food. Suddenly, Scar heard the great roar. He couldn't believe his eyes. "Mufasa, it can't be, you're dead." But Sarabi recognized his son. Simba? "Simba," she said softly. "I have came to take my place as king," Simba roared. But Scar would not back down so easily. Simba leaped at Scar, but the villain slipped away. Instead, hyenas rushed at Simba. Pride Rock echoed with their hideous laughter as hyenas forced Simba to the edge of a cliff. Scar walked up to the exhausted young lion. "Your daddy isn't here to save you this time." Scar taunted, then he pushed Simba off a cliff. Simba's claws scrambled for a hold on a steep slope. "This looks familiar," Scar snared. Oh, yes, I remember. It's just the way your father looked before I killed him." At last, Simba knew the truth. With a mighty roar, he leaped at Scar, while Timon and Pumbaa and the lionesses had chased hyenas off Pride Rock. When Simba sent Scar flying over the cliff, the fella landed in a mob of hungry hyenas. "Hee hee hee!" They cackled cruelly. Finally, they had a meal. They had a meal fit for the king, or the king fit for the meal. Simba thanked his friends Then he walked to the top of a pride rock. His roar echoed through the Pride lands. The rightful king had taken his throne. The plains were soon lush and green again. The animals returned, and hunting was good once more. Simba knew that the king must have a queen, so of course he chose a beautiful Nala. Before long, the animals again came from far and near across the dusty African plain. This time they came to greet the first-born cub of King Simba and Queen Nala. Wise old Rafiki stood at the edge of Pride Rock and held up the cub for all to see. The elephants trembled and Zebra's room whined for joy as the future Lion King joined the great circle of life. Yep, it's about it really, and I'd like to hope you enjoy listening to me reading this classic Disney story of the Lion King. I guess you will enjoy that. So if you haven't already, so you can subscribe to my channel and hit this bell notification, and do not miss out for future videos to watch. Okay, so, and thank you ever so much. I always appreciate you guys, and have a nice day.